Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I'm glad all of you are here to help me co-host this episode of Future Friday. And this week ends our actually week-long talk in terms of cryptocurrencies and data and science fiction this entire week. Normally, we normally split it up with basically classic tabletop Dungeons and Dragons and things, but of course on Future Friday, that's exactly what it stands for. It's Future Friday, and I wanted to talk about more specifically about cryptocurrencies and decentralized data in our tabletop RPG games. Now, of course, even when we talk about science fiction, it absolutely positively has some parallels when it comes to other gaming, especially if you're a traditionalist, you like swords and sorcery, blood and sand. If you're that kind of player, I think you can still pull from it. But because it made me think of something, of course, talking about Beeple, the 3D CGI artist that made almost $70 million of selling um, uh, 5,000 JPEGs and whatnot, and how it is a speculative market today. But it did bring up something like cryptocurrencies, depending on what side of today, what side of the blade you fall on this razor's edge of decentralized currencies. Today, of course, it is very brand new. Bitcoin is the big dog in this fight, but we also have some other outsiders coming in, Dogecoin and others. We have types of methods in which things are decentralized, whether they're the different types of non-fungible tokens, such as Ether, also known as Ethereum, which you can invest in. And a lot of these decentralized currencies are investable. And so their values have been like skyrocketing. The bubble's going to pop at some point, and there will be I guess I'm going to call it a reckoning. That's basically the minute something new comes out, whether any kind of market, whether it was the gold rush, whether it was finding uranium or diamonds and all these kind of things, at some point the economic markets settle out. But but oh man, Cameron says, do you think a dragon would be satisfied with a digital currency? I am fire, I am death, and I love Dogecoin. I don't know. You're right. I mean, it made me think about that, Cam. And also it made me think about something else too, right? Like the only reason currencies even exist in the world as a value anyway is because we collectively believe in it, right? It's all fiction. It's all of it is fiction. Now, mind you, we say that and it sounds daunting, like, wow, the only reason a $5 bill, an American $5 bill, has any worth is because everybody else believes it has worth. And just because you don't believe in it doesn't make it not true, right? Everybody else still has to correspond to the belief that they don't believe in it, which in science fiction, especially like in the Expanse and the Eclipse phase gaming worlds, everything beyond the rim, everything beyond the asteroid belt, like Mars and beyond and such, they don't believe in it. It's all fiction. They're out there in the wilds of space, like currency, what? Like why are we all believing in the same lie? And so there's a great enough population of probably millions, tens of millions of people out there, as opposed to our current state of society, which would bring a big downfall. But it also made me think, like, you know, w- we feel that money is something because it exists, right? Like you can feel it, you can stack it. You see paper money flying through the air. They even make the those dumb little dollar shooting guns that to make it rain and all this kind of business. And it's like, well, if you can't see it, like Cameron's like, if I'm would a dragon want like digital value or something they can't hold on to and sleep on top of? And it now, mind you, there are things in classic role-playing games and even in science fiction that have that aren't money, that have a value that you can't touch and hold on to. Anything digital is that way, right? But in fantasy, it's everything that's otherworldly, anything that's spiritual or ethereal or an astral plane or something. You can't touch it and feel it and collect it, but it's out there. It's it's out there. As a matter of fact, the nine hells in the abyss are actually kind of built off of things that exist, but you can't touch them or feel them. Those are human souls tainted with evil in many ways. Dead Man says an eclipse phase times a 50 character password takes about 10 seconds to decrypt with the proper equipment. Account access is done with DNA encryption. Yeah, and the I'm going to armchair the shit out of this, which means I'm probably wrong, but let me go anyway. Um, there is it's called blockchain, and the blockchain technology is basically an super encryption to mean that something exists that you can't decrypt and corrupt to prove that it has an existence. So a piece of artwork with a non-fungible token, this blockchain attached to it, means that not only does the artwork exist, but this person owns this piece of data. And that can be applied to cryptocurrencies, whereas they are fungible tokens, meaning that each each dollar of like Bitcoin is the same other dollar of Bitcoin, right? But they still have that tag attached to them that can't be disrupted. But the problem with, I feel like, and this is the fun part, but I think one of the problems with cryptocurrencies in the future is time dilation. Okay, so if it takes 8 minutes to transfer information from, say, Earth to or Moon to like Mars or Saturn or something, the longer it takes, the more volatile a financial market could be, because like today with day traders and things of that nature, they are it's you need to make sometimes you need to make transactions within milliseconds, right, to be that next person. Now in reality, like a person like myself, I have an investment. I have what is the equivalent of like a 401k and a Roth IRA and whatever. It's based on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. It's this whole big thing, but it's an investment spread over a large group of other investments. My goal is not to fluctuate; it's to constantly rise up slowly and steadily. And so, my financial investment market for retirement, fingers crossed, doesn't take a huge dip. I don't want microtransactions over milliseconds, right? I'm in it for the long haul. But there are people who make entrepreneurs who want to make tons of money. Anybody remember the GameStop debacle? Right. It's that kind of thing. And I think when you're in space, the further you get away from the instant transactions, the harder it becomes to predict the financial markets. But at the same time, you also need something that is concrete, and I think that's where cryptocurrencies come in, right? So if you go to Neptune and you're like, you know what, yo, let's go to Neptune, yo, we're going to like open up our like gas mining facilities, man, we're going to be the next Jupiter. Everybody's trying to like gas up their ships over at Jupiter, you know what I'm saying? And like we're going to open up our own 7-Elevens here. People want to get their drinks, and we're going to have like lights, maybe some gambling. And the only way to do that is to almost set up like a satellite decentralized currency just in the Neptune's region that at a certain point becomes linked into the other financial markets. And so what I'm thinking of in my head is that I'm getting to the chat in a minute. What I'm thinking in my head is that you have these islands of financial interaction that when you get into that market, it's like um, it's like finding an oasis, an you hope to find a beautiful island of beauty and money and investment. And you're like, and the stranger that comes into Neptune, you're like, wow, you guys have gas mining facilities here? Yo, here's my coin. I'm into this. Like, here, let me deposit my stuff because I want to back what you're doing here. I love it. On the other hand, mind you, you may not know the difficulties that it takes for the Neptunians that like wasted all their money trying to get this gas mining operation and no one's coming by and there's no ships refueling, and you get there and you're like ready to go, like, here's all my money. Oh shit. This is like a urine smelly um I don't know, wasted, kind of like ridden dry and put away wet kind of facility out here. Like, oh, damn it. I need to get out of here as fast as I can, and hopefully it won't tarnish my reputation when I get back into the other financial markets. And I think the foundation of that would be these cryptocurrencies. Otherwise, somebody comes in with some data and goes, "Oh, I'm a trillionaire," and you go like, how do I know you're a trillionaire? You could have just made that up. Uh, We know what hackers are, you know what I mean? So Deadman says current blockchain is based on 60 character decryption passwords. A DNA password is several hundred characters. I didn't know that. Several hundred? That's it? I would think DNA was strands are longer than that. But okay. Mofa says, I wonder what cryptocurrency would look like in a medieval fantasy. Lots of scholars with extra long scrolls in the world's biggest abacus. You know what? I think cryptocurrencies in fantasy, to me, is the equivalent. To me, it reminds me of Planescape, right? What's the game? um, Wraith the Oblivion, the original Wraith the Oblivion, had coins minted out of the broken, shredded souls of the dead. And I think, like, in the physical world, no, you wouldn't have these coins at all, right? But in the ethereal realm, in any place other than the prime material plane, I think you could have something like that, where maybe even magic, you can only cast magic because you have the the um, codes, essentially fantasy codes, to unlock what a fireball is. Your normal human being, they can't remember a 60 character long unlock chain of things, right? Like, what's the Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? He's the Manchurian candidate when he hears like these 17 words spoken in a particular order that unlocks the thing in his head to turn him into a killing machine. And imagine like magic and arcane energies. Like, oh, you want to cast a fireball? You have to say 20, repeat like 23 different arcane words in your head in a particular order. And mind you, probably done this plenty of times. What fireball? Easily. It's cauliflower, dirty socks, um, fuzzy drink, strawberry fields, whatever, like armpit hair. What does it matter? It might be these different words that you say in your head. Do my hand signals, bam, and it happens. And it's like, yeah, sure, a normal human could do that. Easy. Just got to learn to do it. And if your average farmer is like, I can't, what was that third word again? I don't understand what you're talking about. And they plow another line in the field. So maybe there's some way to unlock a thing that otherworldly creatures in a fantasy realm e- expect in like the nine hells, that you've got 50,000 spirit coins or something, but in the physical realm you don't have anything because it doesn't exist. Cam says, I made some lipstick investments in old Final Fantasy games, and I get to play them. There could even be crypto bartering with digital products in the future as an alternate market. Absolutely. And I think, while in some ways you might be thinking like it doesn't make sense to have people that are smart, if you get enough people that are smart enough, you can program and reprogram anything. You could hack anything. So, but we as a society um, are geared to collectivism. Okay, in many ways. In other words, like whether we have something good in our heart and we all want to work together to make a bigger world, or we're a-holes, we love collectivism because if I'm the Billy badass on the street, I want everybody to know that I'm better than you. Okay. So if I'm an arrogant asshole, I want to prove that I'm better than you, and one of the ways to prove that I've got the biggest swinging genitals, um, or I don't know, best looking internal genitals. I don't know what the female version of that would be. Or maybe there's a third version of a strange different shape of genitals. But whatever the case might be in the future, um, I've got the best genitalia out there, and in order for me to prove it, other than sending you pics of it, is that if I'm rich, I want you to know that I'm very rich. So we all collectively agree that this cryptocurrency in Neptune and out in the Oort cloud is exactly the same. It has the exact same um, foundation as it does on Luna and on Mercury and stuff like that. That means like the biggest breast. Oh, I think breasts have probably moved on to ass now. But yeah, I, ladies and pronies out there, you're gonna have to tell me. Sorry about that, princess. That was anybody that tuned in was like, "What the hell is he? What? I need to get the hell up out of here." No, it was I was making an analogy of trying to be an arrogant asshole, and how do you prove that? Ooh, Cam's like the flattest abs. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That there you okay, okay, all right, okay, okay, all right, okay. Yeah, it's like I got a six pack. Well, my six pack has handles on the side, so yeah, whatever. Yeah, sorry about that, Princess was like, I'm sure it was part of a larger conversation, but that was a hilarious moment. Yeah, we're talking about using decentralized cryptocurrencies and tabletop RPGs, and yes, it did have it did have some relationship to the size and shape and beauty of genitalia of all sorts. All right, so but the other thing about cryptocurrencies, of course, in our science fiction games, is that if they exist at all, maybe they're out there to be found by other people, like again, like the gold rush, like the diamond market, uranium, and natural resources. Meaning, like, um, whenever the further you get away from when communication happens, the greater chance you're going to have to separate the ability to transfer one thing to another. Like, for example, I've got my Perseverance t-shirt on, and I wish I had picked up a Perseverance plus Ingenuity t-shirt. But if you guys know, this is the first time Asterix made that a flying aerial vehicle was made. So the Perseverance launched a helicopter, basically helicopter drone on Mars, and there's actually 4K video of the Ingenuity, a flying helicopter, and it was a proof of concept. But the thing is that on Earth, they are teleoperating it, but it's really more like, here's a code, I'm going to send it to Mars, we're going to wait to see what happens and see if it happens, right? And I think in the future we could have digital information packets, and I think those digital information packets, even currencies and values, like this might be more than just money, but it might be packets of very detailed information that we want to keep hidden from people, we want to steal from people, that might be have information we want to send from Luna to Titan, the moon Titan, and it's got to be sent, and it's got to be encrypted, and it's got to arrive there, and I have to have my security forces there, and I need someone there to receive it, because I can't leave an open line from Luna to Titan, because a time dilation, right? It's the time distance. We got to wait for the information to get there and uploading, and we all know what happens when when things take too long. You get you get the working spiral, right? Except with, like, I don't know, probably petabytes of information being sent through space. So the best way is the far future's version of zipping information, sending it as a packet to arrive, and then unzipping it when it gets there. And could you imagine, like, a rich ass millionaire? I'm your rich ass millionaire. I'm arrogant. I'm like, I'm gonna buy my own. I'm a I'm gonna own Deimos or something, the moon of Deimos, or there's an asteroid field, and I'm gonna just buy my own asteroid and a clone, um, you know, myself multiple times, so I can literally sit in my own giant size enclave and just engage in masturbatory narcissism or something, and then somebody comes along and puts a railgun bullet in the back of my head. So now on this asteroid are like this crypto currency and data that's just sitting there waiting for somebody to come pick it up. And I think that might be uh, we're talking about tabletop role playing games here, right? Sure, what I'm talking about, is it possible it doesn't exist? Yeah, but how interesting would it be for player characters to kind of go around and be scavengers or be agents for corporations that are like, oh my god, that trillionaire, his shit is sitting out there, we got to go get it back, right? There's nobody sitting out there to send it back to us. We got to get that information and go collect it now. Governments doing the same thing, right? Sending out spies. We can't let this fall into the wrong hands. Hey, here's a chip that unlocks the code, and do the thing. What? Okay. All right. Let me get back into the chat here. Princess says, like that guy digging up that landfill looking for his old hard drive that has 40K Bitcoin on it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That um, in the expanse, when it got hit by the purposefully bombarded by the asteroids or meteor strike, and just like an eclipse phase with the fall of Earth, I guarantee you plenty of people were fleeing for their lives, and shit's just out there waiting for somebody to get it, to try to get rich off of it. And I think the best, yes, there are natural resources, gold, platinum, aluminum, uranium, and all kinds of rare metals. Like that's an investment of itself to make someone rich. But I also think there might even be data mining in the literal sense of the digging into a landfill looking for 40,000 Bitcoin stuck on that hard drive. Yes. Deadman says his name is James Howells. If it's correct, he has hundreds of millions on that drive, and it was 7,500 Bitcoin at the time, right? And here's the other thing too. Someone, given given the rate of investment, someone could very well put the equivalent of a thumb drive in their pocket, escape Earth, be some lower middle class blue collar worker on some kind of habitat or something, leave there and leave their crap there because they're like, you know what, I'm gonna just move on to bigger and better things, and realize that stuck in a locker somewhere is this version of Bitcoin that is now worth hundreds of thousands of times what it was before he stuck the thumb drive in his pocket and jammed it in the back corner of some kind of some locker that like 18 other people have been using that never bothered to clean it out. So that's a possibility too, that someone's ultra rich and they never even realized it until later. And the opposite as well. Someone very rich goes out there and becomes very poor when they arrive in their new location, and the amount of time caused the value of what they have to dip, which would be pretty awesome for the poor people working for that rich asshole who's just like, I'm a rich bastard. And when they get the Titan or something, they're just like, my investments are worth what? They're worth what? And the AI is like, sorry, sir, here is your blue collar shirt. We just printed it today. Um, Cam says it's amazing we can do something as complicated as terrestrial flight remotely from across the solar system on a stormy planet no one has ever stepped on. Who needs a flying car? Yeah, yeah. And I one of the this is I don't know why this makes my brain seem strange, but the flight of the Ingenuity from the Perseverance, it casts a shadow on the ground, and so I believe the vehicle flew as high as 100 meters, but anyway, it's substantially high enough off the ground that on Earth, if the sun was shining, you would never see this shadow. It's because of the aerial vehicle is that small. But on Mars, it casts a very clear, distinct blackened shadow on the ground, and it made me think like, oh, that's right, Mars' atmosphere is different. maybe the sun looks more like a spotlight across the entire planet, like a like I've got on my face, I've got these two circular lights that's supposed to diffuse the shadows across my face so I don't get the big, dark shadow under the chin or under the eyes or the crevices on my face. And you guys have seen those before with like live streamers. They get the big round circular lights. But on the back end of this light, it's casting a dark shadow. The back of my hands is blackened. And I'm just like, oh, that's a different. I don't know why it made me think of the stark shadows that would be cast and stuff. It's just pretty interesting. Yeah, that right. Princess is saying no light diffusion. Yeah, there's no or very limited. I mean, it's very compared to Earth, it's very limited light diffusion. And it just sparks something in my head, not just creatively, but just scientifically. I love that stuff. I'm an armchair sci-fi guy, so I don't know these things, but I love the idea of thinking about them, and I hope it makes other people just as excited to see these kind of things as well. Vampanoid says a futuristic version of One Piece of One Piece that spans the universe, and you thought this series went on forever. Yeah, like you thought this is going to last forever. Like hell no, you had your chance. Now it's our turn. Um, oh, Tesla. News.bitcoin.com, man. And this is the title. News.bitcoin.com. Click, man accidentally threw away hard drive with 7,500 bitcoins, million landfill. I love that click title because if that's you, it's like motherfucker. A man has accidentally thrown away a hard drive containing 7,500 bitcoins. He is now offering his city said 25% of the value of the bitcoins stored in the hard drive for permission to search the city's landfill site. His bitcoins are now worth almost $300 million dollars at the current price. So remember before I had talked about the gold rush phenomenon that the and this is when Perseverance first landed. It was the idea that the information of a thing becomes more valuable than actually finding the thing. So the fact that there is in this landfill, and mind you, this hard drive more likely than not is completely worthless, right? It's crushed, it's been corroded or whatever. It may not exist at all in the physical sense. Not that this individual's lying, but that you'll never find it. It's a needle in a stack of needles, right? The size of a haystack. But the fact that it exists out there and that this dude is willing to give 25% to the city to let him go search for it is the fact that now this rumor of this Bitcoin is more valuable than actually finding it. It's crazy. Oh man. Dead Man's like 20 meters up and close to 200 meters transversed. Wow. Adam Krigler did a stream about the Ingenuity's first flight earlier this week. Yeah, the Ingenuity. They did a couple of like short test runs, like a shorter one, higher, and it's not designed to. The Ingenuity isn't designed to go on these vast missions. It's a proof of concept to then send things to Mars with bigger blades, more technology attached to it to fly over the surface of Mars. But it's the proof of concept that's the big deal. I apologize for that. Big deal, and that's awesome. Cameron says, imagine having a beat up old robot that you upgrade for combat and utility as you scavenge. Hell yeah. And this is the gold part of like tabletop RPGs, right? Like if assuming in your setting, there's a reason why something that has value can't be found or isn't easy to get to, we can make up a ton of reasons why. Whether it's um, a a uh, a a shuttle or a ship carrying lots of supplies gets into trouble out in space and it's adrift out in space, much like a bus or a train or something runs out of gas or gets a flat tire. Maybe the equivalent happens in space. And on Earth, we have scavenger rights in our own oceans. if that's translated, if that naval maritime law is transferred out into space, maybe scavenging these cruise liners out in space is a good thing. A battle, maybe there's, instead of a major war, maybe you don't want that in your science fiction, but you have these corporate and government and factional and habitats like skirmishes between smaller ships, much like the Expanse, right? In the Expanse, up until recently, most of that combat was with very few craft, no more than 3 or 4, up until the recent stories. I'm talking about the television, Amazon Prime version of the show. Most of them were like 1 or 2 ships. So 1 or 2 ships in the vastness of space is nothing. That's nothing. So you can easily lose a ship out there. Like, yes, everybody knows it's gone, but finding it with no power and adrift out in space, no one's going to know where that's at. So if you're a good scavenger, the tension of time, space, and energy and resources to get to a thing, or knowing that somebody got to a thing and the player characters are like, oh damn, they got to that military ship. I bet they have all kinds of codes. And oh, the military commanders, they always have, I don't know, blockchains, um, they carry on themselves, or codes to get to their blockchains, because any military commander worth their salt is always going to stash away some money, right? And because it's decentralized, no one knows how rich they are, but they're keeping it just in case the admiral needs to retire when the government falls. I've got a little bit of coin stashed away. So yeah, that kind of fight, or like I said, the knowledge that it exists out there anyway, is makes it valuable just from the fact that there's a chance that it exists. So I like that. Cameron's like a needle in a haystack, and he can't bring a magnet because it'll erase the files. Ooh, yep. Because you think about it, yeah, it would be pretty cool to just use a magnet in one of those metal detectors, but I bet it'll just pick up every aluminum can and metal filing and all that kind of stuff. It's actually kind of cool. Deadman says actually a hard drive would likely be sent to India or China for recycling. And hey, less than 5 minutes away from me, there's a data recycling place for electronics. So who like you who knows? Somebody could have randomly picked it up, wiped it, and took it home. Deadman continues on and saying, scavenging the debris in orbit of Earth. You know what? Our own today, we have a problem with crap revolving around Earth. Earth actually has an accretion disk around. Maybe accretion disk isn't the proper terminology. We have a ring around Earth, like Saturn has a ring around it. Except we put all that crap up into space. Well, some of it I'm sure is debris that's come across our atmosphere and broken up. So, and Earth has gravity, so it's got pulled some debris. But we've dumped a lot of trash up in space. So yeah, hell yeah. And who's to say what's up there, right? A simple accident, space accident, could deposit all kinds of uh, data that you could get because it has been linked to a foundational element like a blockchain, this non-fungible token, to allow us access to it. Yeah, like Michael says, there's a reason piracy exists to this day. Yep, and Earth has a debris cloud around it. We sure do. So, and how do you differentiate scavenging and piracy? Okay, like you guys know, I'm a man of a certain age, so of course I like to go on cruises. Now we know that the cruise industry has completely shut down. It'll probably be shut down for, I don't know, another 6 to 8 months or something like that. I probably won't. My wife and I, we won't be on the first ships to go out. But I say that because upwards of over 30 cruise ships have been sent to be recycled. The metal recycled. There's a place in Turkey, and they literally take the ships, run them as fast as they can, and they literally beach them up on land, and they hack away at them. They destroy them, and so that's scavenging. It's recycling, but there's also piracy, right? If you sabotage a starship and then it becomes adrift in space and everyone escapes it, now it becomes salvageable. So where does that line fault, right? Was not my fault. Well, you hired the saboteurs. Well, I didn't expect them to really sabotage a Martian battle cruiser, but whatever. Um, yeah, Mike Gould says is one scavenging from ships that are still occupied or not? Um, that's based on the high velocity flechette rifles that you and your crew are carrying. Uh, every time I fire my flechette rifle, the less occupied the ship becomes. Yep. Ramming speed. Yeah, yeah. There's video of relatively empty cruise ships just being beached, like literally driven up onto dirty sandy beaches to be recycled. It's pretty interesting and friggin' crazy because there's you talk about how human beings get comfortable with some of the most dangerous jobs. There's people literally standing there like, "Come on!" Like they're backing up a minivan or something. Like, "Come on, back, get this thing in here!" And they're literally standing there when this cruise ship like runs up on the beach. It's crazy. And these cruise ships are 6, 8, 10 stories tall, not including the depth of their hull. It's crazy what they do. But yeah, Tesla Ranger says Eclipse phase on the 9 Live Syndicate's hidden space habitat, Legba, cortical stacks might be used as currency. Oh, and mind you, uh, decentralized cryptocurrency today we're thinking of as, well, money. It represents one thing, and that is money. But Tesla brings up the 9 Live Syndicate. Now, for those who don't know, there is an equal syndicate in the altered carbon universe where cortical stacks are, the imprint of a person's neurological and psychological information, that those can be used as currency. And hell's yes. Not only can you buy, sell, and trade other people's personalities, which is sick unto itself, but people also tend to keep secrets. So d- no one knows the 60 code password to get into your bank account, but that really rich asshole that lost all his value or something. I don't know, Ponzi Madoff dude or something that was killed, but their cortical stack is out there. Hey, you need to get their password. Why don't you just find their cortical stack? Go ahead and buy, sell, trade it, and then just carve it out of their brain, stick it in a machine, or spin them up and torture that password the hell out of their brain. That why not do that? And the 9 Live Syndicate, and they actually show this in the television show Altered Carbon, that there's a black market for personalities, and it's pretty sick when you see a bunch of cortical stacks just sitting in a tray up front, like like the little penny tray in the corner stores and stuff. In today's, it's just crazy, but it's awesome though. Think about Princess Bryhammer says an element of space salvage in mid-advancement spaceflight civilizations is that processed steel and components that are already in space are way more valuable than steel that is on a planet. Yep, because the upfront cost of getting that material to space is already spent, which, in a way, it makes you wonder whether destroying, like, the classic space battles, whether they would happen the way we think they would, with shooting a starship and blasting through it and flying through the debris. It's like, it actually doesn't make sense to blow up somebody else's ship. It actually makes more sense to disable each other's spacecraft through disruptor cannons and hacking their systems, or firing torpedoes that don't blast through them but land on the outer components of the ship to disable, like, engines and communications and power, or hell, just opening up the friggin' starship to space and just decompressing the entire ship, hopefully to kill most of the crew and then steal it. I think that would probably be far more common than a little bit. Basically, disabling someone else's ship, capturing or killing the crew, much like piracy in the old days here on Earth, where the piracy was capture the ship, convince the convince the captured crew to join you, or send them off the plank, and then you have two ships and twice as many, hopefully twice as many loyal crew, that kind of thing. Princess goes on to say, so there is a dual tier market of materials that are in space, which is more valuable, and terrestrially locked material, which is less expensive. So even a shipment of steel or copper in space is a big deal. And as Isaac Arthur often says, from starships, every starship is a battle vehicle. It just, most of them only have one way of using it. Like, just because literally a heavily laden starship with no weapons is a kinetic kill weapon. All you need to do is just point it at something or drop material off the side of your ship at relativistic speeds, and then the thing that you dropped off the side of your ship is a weapon unto itself. So technically, kinetic kill weapons, this is weird to say, are both dangerous planet killers and extremely valuable materials you might not want to drop on a planet in the first place. It's like, don't drop that tungsten steel. We could use that. That's valuable. Why are you launching that at a city? And someone's like, well, kill two birds with one stone. We get to destroy the capital city on a planet, and it lands on Earth without or lands on a planetary surface without much effort from us. So both could be true. Mike Gould says our information as currency is hard to track as well. Trading in secrets can lead to accumulation of currency, power, control, etc. If there's a thing people want, there's a black market and pornography of it. People forget, but look, pornography is the engine that has moved our audio and visual technologies to the next level since day one. From cave paintings and cave peoples going into caves looking around like, oh, anybody see me? To Pharaoh, the ancient Egyptians are like, oh, today they're like, this is the history of people. And back in the day, they're just like, this is the dirty place. Where's a palm leaf I need to use as an absorbent towelette or something, right? So hell's yes. Cameron says cortical stacks being sold like that really puts a new spin on pocket halflings. Pull out your thumb drive. Here's my pocket halfling. Plug into a robot. Yep. Michael says, whereas spare gnomes have less desirable stacks. Leave the gnomes alone. I know. Halflings tend to have higher value. Oh well. Take a gnome, leave a gnome. Up at the front counter. How can I help you? Can I get a pack of Newports? The 2-for-1 Cinna snacks and a pocket gnome as well. All right. Michael says, envisioning a huge glass jar crammed with gnomes pressed against the glass, faces up against the glass, like what? I love it. But yeah, the idea that if there is a cryptographic way to ensure that data is transferred and accepted across vast distances of space. Okay, so an example would be, I have with me the now this I'm going to come up with another way of data transfer, which is kind of strange, but just follow me on this. So someone may not have 80 terabytes of information on a thumb drive. What they might have instead are these, I'm going to call it a key to unlock the information that I should have. So example would be, maybe people are carrying around small bits of information, literally a key that says to someone else, I have 40,000 Bitcoin dollars. Okay, I'll use Bitcoin because that seems to be what we're talking about. So I have 40,000 Bitcoin. Now, when I leave Earth and go to an outpost on Pluto, when I get there, when I leave Earth, my Bitcoin just is still there, but it's locked away. So it's not affecting it because it's digital information, right? It's locked away. I'm no longer there. But when I get to Pluto, I take my key, I plug it in. Now on Pluto, they go, oh, this key says this person now has 40,000 Bitcoin. Let's add that to our database on Pluto. And boom. So digitally speaking, there's two accounts. I've just become twice as rich, but technically I'm not. One place is locked, the other place is open. When I leave Pluto, it becomes locked and I go someplace else. Now, the problem with that idea would be if I exist in two places or the key is duplicated, that money becomes, well, it becomes instantly doubled. But that could also be a thing that happens in the universe where, hey, it's not about earning money, it's about salvaging keys to create something that isn't there. Now, you could very easily claim, well, DBJ, why would anybody allow that? And it's the equivalent of, why do cities allow red light districts? Okay. Every major city has a red light district. It's basically the place where it's the release valve of bad activity, drugs, prostitution, and human trafficking, and drug abuse, and assaults and murders. And you're like, well, why would any major city even? Why would any civilization ever have a red light district? This place where there's danger all the time. And the reason is because it benefits society. You need a release valve. And the the thing is that, used against us, we wouldn't want somebody to find a key to instantly make themselves rich. But on the other hand, we would allow it as a society because, on the other hand, it could make us rich, right? If we outlaw it, and I have 50 keys in my pocket, I don't want that outlawed. I want to get those keys and open them up and get this money, right? Or whatever value is in there, whether it's secrets, or like Mike Gould was talking about, power, control, secrets, bribery, blackmail, uh, 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 blueprint plans for all kinds of weaponry and biological information and things like that. Of course, I don't want to shut that down. I'm going to pretend like I do, but I'm a politician. I'm going to lie. I'm going to lie my ass off because I want that to exist. Princess says black markets are a fascinating subject. I studied those in grad school. Okay. The Maxwell School at Syracuse University has been doing fantastic research cataloging the characteristics of black market zones and analyzing them, called the Global Black Spots Method. I didn't know it had a name, but I'm pretty sure it does economically. Yep. Goes on to say, Princess goes on to say, they define the zones as places outside of effective government control, of which black markets are only a part of the broader characteristics. And black markets are excellent ways to have trade when communities are working against each other. So whether it is political, we don't trade with them and they don't trade with us. Whether it's wartime, we're fighting them and they're fighting us. Whether it is cultural barriers, we don't believe in what they believe, they don't believe in what we believe in. Black markets have always been there to make that trade happen. During the since we've been talking about salvage and piracy, during the piracy privateer era down in the Caribbean, the pirates would steal crap from other ships. The privateers were hired pirates to steal things from other ships, and then they were then resold back to the countries that they were stolen from, making a black market literally engaged in because of war. So yeah, we know that's always the case. And as a society, we love those black markets because while outwardly we want to bring it down, fist in the air, chest puffed up, all full of like righteous goodness. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I want to shut that down, except when the lights go out and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to sneak out the house and engage in some black market activities, like, oh yeah, and not get caught, right? Michael says, I'm seeing a combination of space, naval warfare, and mining. Drilling for hard ore might be hard, but using a railgun to drive said chunks of ore into another vessel breaks that ore. Easier to get. Ouch. As Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys says, getting two birds stoned at once. Oh, ore is broken down, enemy is damaged. Yep. As a matter of fact, there might be a weird hodgepodge of naval, like you said, naval warfare and space mining. um, the, the Marines are going on to chunks of ore out in space, so the space miners can put engines on them and get them calculated to start sending them towards enemy ships to blast through them and stuff. That'd be kind of cool. I love that. As a matter of fact, you could just hollow out well, I don't know how fast you could do it, but hollow out asteroids for military bases temporarily and then use the ore that's on the inside as value and such. Um, heavily armored navies latching onto or surrounding chunks of ore to get it from one place to another. Comets that where you need to dump moisture into the atmosphere of Mars and followed by navies so that other people don't steal the comet that you just turned so that it would fall into the atmosphere and turn into moisture or something like that. I love that. Princess goes on to say also occurs. Did I miss? Oh, there we go. Also occurs when the local currency starts to break down and no longer functions as an effective medium of exchange. Yep. Yep. When dollars rise and fall, black markets are always there to equalize things as well. People usually turn to one of two methods: dollarization, where the people adopt a foreign currency and start using it instead of the local currency. Bitcoin is a perfect example of that. Usually the US dollar or black markets, or maybe in the future, cryptocurrencies. Exactly. I didn't even read that, but yeah, exactly. In the future, and I'm not saying Bitcoin will be the one, but the lofty purpose of Bitcoin is to have a currency that's not attached to the fundamentals of government and authority, right? So, for example, like here in the United States, we have they call it generally the Fed, and the Federal Exchange decides the value of our dollar, and they manipulate it by loaning money to all of our banks at different rates of exchange. So the higher, I don't know which direction it goes, but they will change the rate of exchange up and down by like half a point or 1 percentage point or tenths of percentage points, and by manipulating that up and down, our American dollar gets manipulated up and down. Now, of course, it like you're saying, there, Princess, it turns into it bumps up against other people's currencies, and so Bitcoin is supposed to be divorced from all that. That's actually it's actually untrue that any currency ever will be divorced from any manipulation, and whether it's conscious or not, right? Like people, because we all believe in something, the value of the belief is what gives it its value. Housing prices, the stupidly expensive housing prices in New York, where you could buy, it's $1.5 million for a closet. It exists because we believe that it's worth $1.5 million for a closet. And the minute somebody buys it for that much money, that's what value it is. So you're always going to get people who believe in a thing, and Bitcoin happens to be like on this bubble spike, and with these other coins out there, Dogecoin and Ethereum, and I don't know all the other ones that are coming out. Tezos, I think, is the name of another one. And so, yeah, but now, mind you, you may agree. The thing is that there's nothing wrong with the fact that it can modulate. You may just be in you may hate all your governments and be in line with, I don't care about the governments. I just want to believe in a coin by the people for the people. No problem with that. I don't think so. Michael says black markets and red light districts could lead to intrigue plots. Absolutely. Governments might want to legalize prostitution and soft drug use, which is happening today, and reduces crime, improves safety and health, and removes power from crime. Yep, this could lead to assassination of government members, leading to adventure chains tracking them down, and it can lead to somewhat rebellion, right? Like the people with their chest out and righteous fists in the air. We need to stop crime. On the other hand, the governments are like, but we need this. I can't explain it to you, but we need prostitution. You're like, you know what I mean? It's weird. I mean, it's a shame to say that, but in some ways, like here in the United States, we actually see that happening already, which is a shame, because the idea is to take the power out of the criminal element itself, but that transitional phase is rough because so many people get hurt by it. Mike Gould says this could lead to, so if there's a currency or commodity, it's open to manipulation. Oh, hells yes, it is. Yeah, and Deadman says U.S. Federal Reserve is trying to subsume cryptocurrencies because they can't fight it. In the beginning, every new currency that has power over the old currency, they're going to say it doesn't exist, it's wrong, it's illegal, but you can't fight it. So now they're trying to embrace it, subsume it, basically go, oh, well, technically Bitcoin is an American dollar. It's part of ours. Let's link it together like the euro. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hell's yes. Princess says there are serious discussions happening in think tanks right now of cryptocurrency as a currency of last resort in the case of a truly global economic breakdown in the face of huge threats, often discussed in the context of climate change. Well, I wouldn't even say climate change. I would say that. I would make it further and go, today more people, I'm sorry, a larger portion of our population has the ability to have one single individual destabilize the most people in the world. Like, for example, one person can create a virus in their basement that can have lethal effect on the world. So more people have the ability for one person to affect everybody. And so a cryptocurrency that you could basically, like, when markets rise and fall, and like you said, like as a last resort, when things get shut off and you go, you know what, well, we got a cryptocurrency. When everything gets turned back on, we basically reboot the system. There you go. What happened on day 37 of at 12 midnight, 12:01? We're going to go right back to that. Why not? And maybe colonization might work that way. Hey, everybody, listen. I know you guys are the 100 colonists we're going to send off to Alpha Centauri. Listen. We're going to make each of you filthy rich when you get there. All of you explorers are going to be filthy rich when you get there, and each of you is going to create your own economies. We need you to do this when you get there. By the way, here's how much money you're going to have. Here's what the value is going to be. Like, we're going to discuss that today, right now. The economy doesn't even exist in this new place, but this is what its value will be, and you could literally pre-program that into the system so that economic downfall of when they leave Earth doesn't matter. When you get there, this is what is going to exist, because we all agree that's what will happen. Or you could have colonists rebel and they go, who cares what our home governments are? We're just going to make up our own currency. That could happen as well. Lastly, Michael says, when sex workers are legitimized, they open up to unions, health and dental, and most importantly, to government's taxation. Yep. Which means they can be abused. They can have worker abuse like the rest of us. Instead of being abused on the streets, they get abused by labor laws or lack thereof, OSHA rules and stuff. Mofa says, my bank still has a policy of bank employees not being allowed to own or mine or have any involvement with cryptocurrency. Last I heard, I didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense. Mike Google's going to say, digital currencies are vulnerable to power and memory loss. That's why the gold standard has lasted so long. It doesn't corrode, burn, or disappear when the power goes out. And Blood of Heroes, quote, had a metal scrap as currency. Mad Max touched on gasoline and water as currency. And see, this is a really strange weirdism about cryptocurrencies in sense that there is a physical representation of the currency. It's just digital and it's on hard drives, right? So on one hand, someone is going to make the argument that it does exist. It's just in a database. And the other person's going to say, like you're saying, like Mr. Gould, that sure, it's on a database, but once you unplug it, it's done, which might make a central location, like the moon of Titan, let's say, becomes, you hollow out in a giant-sized asteroid, just becomes a crypto bank for the database, and then that itself becomes dangerous to attack, but everyone accepts that that's where the database is, so that might be a thing too. But anyway, guys, going on a little bit too long. Got to get out of here. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this and letting me just riff on this kind of concept. Appreciate you guys being here, and especially just like helping the channel out and just being part of it. I really appreciate it. Princess says, I so want OSHA to have to print up regulations on safe sexual positions. I want this to be someone's job so bad. Can you imagine? Sorry. Come on, Princess. There's going to have to be an educational video, one of those super dry educational videos. All right, everyone, this is what missionary position looks like. Now, every employee, please get into this position. We want you to practice. That would be hilarious. Hilariously dry and boring and stuff. It'd be awesome. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have a great one. Thanks for being here. Oops. There we go.